Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Getting Real with Paula. My name is Paula Alphonse, and tonight I am talking to the one and only Dr. Vibe. I must admit that it is both a pleasure and a bit of a stimulating challenge to exchange with such a seasoned interviewer. For the last decade, Dr. Vibe has been the host and the producer of his own online show, The Dr. Vibe Show. He has been described by many as insightful, charismatic, and outstanding in terms of interviewing skills. Dr. Vibe makes it easy for guests to freely share and exchange on topics that most would prefer sweeping under the rug. While he is known for his candid, engaging, and informed opinions, I personally like him for his witty and no nonsense attitude. So tonight we are turning the table and hoping to get some insight as to what keeps Dr. Vibes interested and invested in his craft. Let's see a little snippet of his show. So, we're talking to the man with epic conversation. So, Dr. Vibe, could you tell us a little bit about you, your journey, and how it brought you to TV reporting and your own online show?
Well, good evening, Paula. How are you?
I'm doing good. Looking forward to this conversation.
Why?
Because
Because what?
you know what? There are people you watch doing their thing, and you're like, I'd like to get to know those people. And you are one of these. So I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Well, I thank you for taking interest in this guy they call Dr. Vibe. I'm very humbled, and it's a blessing and a pleasure and an honor, and looking forward to having a great conversation with you tonight. So where do you want me to start?
Give us a little bit about you, your
A
journey.
journey. Well, we'll talk about the Dr. Vibe show, and excuse me, it's about 10, 11 years ago. I think even more, a little bit longer than that. I had finished university before that. During university, was a member of this college radio station. Big shout out Scarborough College Radios, CSCR radio station. Loved being a DJ there for a number of years. And after I finished university, after a few years, I said, I'd like to do something online. And one day I was walking, excuse me, downtown Toronto to a bookstore called Burke's Bookstore. It doesn't exist anymore, unfortunately. Mr. and Mrs. Sam and Rita Burke, hail up to them, fantastic people. Used to visit their shop all the time. And one day I went in and there was a book on the shelf. And this was the book that was on the shelf. Black
Yeah.
Men. I don't know if the light. Okay, there we go. Black Men, Obsolete, Single, and Dangerous. Essays in Discovery, Solution, and Hope by Haki Mahabuti. So I pulled this book off the shelf, read a chapter, bought it, and read the whole book in one night.
Mm.
And I said to myself, some way, somehow, I'm going to provide a platform for, at that time, Black Canadian men and those who love them, for them to just share their story. Because most of the time when I was looking in media back then, they were criminal, involved in criminal or they were entertainers. Now, when I say entertainers, that's everything from a performer to an athlete, because an athlete is an entertainer. He gets paid to perform. So we finally started. I decided with all I had was a laptop and a dream. And I did my first conversation. I thought my first conversation was back in 2010, but I did some looking the other day on my site. The first conversation I did internet-wise was back in 2007.
Oh, even longer.
Yeah, I didn't realize that to the day. The first recollection I have of doing a conversation online was about Michael Vick and the dogs, and that's going way back. A lot of the people who are either viewing or listening to this live or on the replay would not know about that, but Google it. We can Google it. And I had a co-host at that time, aka Vegas, and all I had was a laptop and a dream, and we started doing those conversations via my laptop at my dining room table. We took a break because I believe most great things have a birth, death, and resurrection. So we took some time off, came back, did some more conversations. I said, you know what? People get really bored just listening to us all the time. So I like to try to keep it simple. And I said, well, let's talk to people who I know. So I used to go to friends' dinner parties and put my laptop, and this is the microphone I was using back then, a Snowball, blue Snowball. When I showed this, some people say, yeah, I know that mic. I remember that mic. That's what I was using back there with my laptop. I just go to friends' dinner parties and we just put on the record and we just have conversations. Then it went to, well, okay, enough with people who I know. Let me start chatting with people who I don't know, don't have a relationship with. And back then, there was a gentleman named Mike Williams. He was Canada's first Black male VJ on Much Music. And I live in Toronto. He lives in Hamilton. So I got in contact with him and I said, Mike, would love to do an interview with you. He said, Dr. Vibe, if you want to interview me, you have to come out to Hamilton, which is about a 45-minute drive. And I said to myself, Dr. Vibe, what happens if you drive for about 20, 25 minutes? He calls and he cancels. Okay, don't like that. So I said, there's got to be a way for me to do what I do from my home and have global reach. I went on the internet because, hey, Dr. Vibe is lazy at times. And I put in Google shows about podcasting. First one that came up was a show called The Podcaster Studio. Hail up Ray Ortega. At that time, he was living in Washington, D.C. And within 24 hours, he changed the thought process of my show. And he left me with a message saying, Dr. Vibe, you want to achieve this, that when Black Canadians think of Black men that do interviews online, they think of you first.
Mhm.
Never forgot about that. And I said, that's fantastic. And I said, Ray, but how can I have conversations? Because I don't do interviews. I don't do interviews. I do conversations.
Mhm.
Everyone has their own, but I like to do conversations. Conversations are better than interviews, just for
Yes.
me, anyways. So I asked Ray, like, I want to be able to speak to people in different countries and all that. He said, need to get you a hold of a gentleman named Mike, and I can't remember his last name now. Please forgive me, but Mike, he was based in North Carolina. So I got in touch with Mike, and I forget his last name right now. Please forgive me, but he knows who he is. I said, Mike, I want to be able to have conversations live online with people all over the world via audio. I said, Dr. Bob, if you want that, you're going to have to get a mixer. I said, Mike, the only mixer I know is when I go to a club. He said, no, you're going to need a mixer. So Mike, God bless his heart, spent about 6 hours on the phone back and forth different times to set myself with a mixer. And ever since then, the Dr. Vibe Show has had global reach. I've done over 2,000 online conversations. I'm
Mhm.
also featured on a website called the Good Men Project, which is one of the most
Mhm.
viewed sites in the world for men. The site itself gets 3 million unique visitors a month and 6 million
Mhm.
page views a month. Uh, and I've been featured there weekly. I have my own spot to provide content
Oh.
on their website every week, Tuesdays at around 2:30. I'm the only online broadcaster that has that opportunity, and that's been going on for 7 years.
Mhm.
I've been blessed to receive awards from the I can show it right here. This here 2018 Canadian Ethnic Media Association Award for
Mhm.
Innovation. And before we finish tonight, I have a surprise, at least one other surprise to pull out, because I don't want to bore Paula and their audiences. I don't want her to get kicked off the air. So I got to keep her show lively and entertaining. And I've been blessed to have a number of people who have come on the Dr. Vibe Show for a number of times start their own online conversations.
Yeah.
One of the gentlemen, I guess he treats me as a mentor. He is now assistant program director at WHYY, which is the NPR station in Philadelphia.
Mhm.
And there's at least 2 to 3 other individuals through being on the Dr. Vibe Show have their own platforms. One or two of them also
Mhm.
has been a 3-time TEDx speaker.
Mhm.
And the funny thing is, I started my journey getting audience in the United States before Canada, and even today,
Mhm.
2/3 of my audience is based in the United States.
Mhm.
Very early in my journey, I was disappointed that it was very challenging to get people on my platform for Canada. And I had to make a decision saying, you know what? I can't get anyone from Black Canada on the platform. I'm going to quit. I said, no, let me go to the United States.
Mhm.
There's a bigger market. And now 2/3 of my audience is from the US, and a lot of great content I've got from the United States. And I've also been able to monetize with stuff that I do in the United States and now in Canada.
The interesting thing you mentioned about not having a block market in Canada versus the market in the States, it's unfortunate, but it is still a reality, and that's the
Yeah.
portion where we hate being the cousins, the little cousins from the back of the country, but then it still feels that in some areas we haven't been able to evolve as quickly.
Well,
But
I just want to interject. I think it's a Canadian thing, not just a Black
yeah.
Canadian thing. And
Mhm.
because our country is so right, we're just separated by a border, and the United
Mhm.
States marketplace is so big. A lot of
Mhm.
times, people have to prove themselves in the United States or outside of Canada to get the respect in Canada. So I think it's more a Canadian thing, not a Black Canadian thing.
Anyway, we're not gonna start this conversation because otherwise I'm not gonna get all the information I'm hoping to get from you.
We'll see.
So we'll see, because it's an exchange, yes. So when you were growing up,
I still
was
am.
this, yes, but I mean when you were younger, let's say 18 and younger,
Yeah.
uh, was this on your career path or it was not even on your radar?
It was on my radar because, again, the experience I had, the wonderful times I had doing college radio.
Okay.
And it just took that moment where I picked up that book and said, you know what? I have to do something to have Black Canadian male voices heard. I got to do something. I don't know what it was, but then I said, I found the internet and it found me, and the rest is just a journey. And plus, my father, God bless, he's still alive, was very much into music, so that was somewhat into me. He's a member of the Canadian. Well, hold on, he's a member of the Vinyl Record Collectors Hall of Fame in America.
Oh, wow. So he still have vinyls.
Yeah,
My children are just starting to, how could I say, recognize that vinyl existed besides the just decoration. And you're like, no, that's how we used to play real music.
Absolutely.
And anyway, so according to my research, because I did a bit of research, you've been the face alongside conversations such as Black and Bold Voices.
Yep.
Do you know what time it is? Dr. Vibe's Allies, and then Black Men Talking, Black Canada Talking. And I know, I'm sure, many others.
Yes.
What is the vision behind your involvement in these conversations?
My vision is to educate, empower, enlighten, entertain Blacks and those who love them.
I love it.
That's to educate, entertain, empower, enlighten Blacks and those who love them. That's basically all through all those different platforms. So people will say, no, and the question may come, is everyone that comes on your show Black? I said, no, but I'm hosting it. I'm Black. So I'm driving the ship. I'm driving the ship.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I like to be, and big shout out to Sarah.
Yes, you just saw her too.
big shout out, and big up to Sarah, and always love to have her as part of my conversation. Yes, big up the Black Canada Talking, and we're making some. We're going to be amplifying that in the near future, but that's another conversation. And that you asked me why I do those things. It's like getting, and Sarah is someone I did not know until a few years ago. And now I know Sarah, and being there for her, and also providing an avenue through what I do to amplify and show the great stuff. And it's not work, the great passion she has for our people. Every time I have like 90% I have a conversation now with someone, there's someone in my community. I don't like the word network because most people's net ain't working. There's someone in my community that I know that can help that person move forward. And nothing brings better joy than when I have people come on the platform. There's actually two ladies that I'll mention. There's Nicole in Toronto, and there's another lady, Serena, in Virginia. And one time I was doing a conversation, and they're like good online friends now, to the point where Nicole took the book, How to Get Your Book Written course by Serena. That's when I love it, when two people don't know each other and they find something in common, and those are the things. Amplify in a positive way. Amplify.
I see in your little promo the words aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, and aim wider.
Yeah.
I love the fact that it just goes with the amplify, but it just gives you the sense that there's still growth. Whatever Absolutely. It is that you do, there is growth. There's a way to go bigger and not go home, but keep spreading, because you're spreading the knowledge, you're spreading the love, you're spreading the understanding, and all of that brings that sense of connection. I've been told that you are good about that you are excellent about relationships.
And
I'm not talking personal relationships, because I'm not touching your personal life.
No, I just wanted to add that, Paula, believe me, that outside of the higher power above, what has got me to where I am, if I've had any sort of success, whether it's success, but that's another conversation, is the relationship part.
Yeah.
And people don't realize, yes, we're digital, but the relationships still count because people are only going to work with who they like,
Yeah.
right? So the relationship has been very, very important. Like you mentioned being on TV. That's a funny story because many years ago, I'll bring up his name. Polton McKenzie had a program on Rogers Television here in Toronto. Oh, I can't remember what it was called, the Caribbean something. Can't remember exactly. And I interviewed him at his home. And after the interview was done, I said, "Hey, Polton, if there's anything I can do to help you, just give me a call." Let alone a week and a half later, he called me and said, "Hey, Dr. Vibe, how you doing?" I go, "Fine." He said, "One of my reporters can't do the show anymore. Are you interested?" So it happened. Yeah, that's how I got on TV. And just recently, earlier on this year, I was interviewed by CTV News Channel to talk about Black fathers and Black Father's Day, on Father's
Mm-hmm.
Day, sorry. And that again, the lady who interviewed me, I don't know how she found my name, but
Mm-hmm.
she interviewed me, and then I followed up with her after, and she said, "Look, we have to make sure we get you back on whenever we can." And I'll save it to the end because she's actually going to be part of something tonight that I'm involved in.
Okay. I love surprises, and I'm saying
These are
this.
good
I love
surprises, by the
surprises
way. These
on
are good
this type of
surprises. All
forum.
right.
I don't like surprises that are around me because it's. But anyway,
Yes.
uh, some of the exchanges that you have on your shows reflect realities and perspectives that, to me, are existential and slow to resolved. So it's like the evolution of who the Black people are and what contribution they can make. So, what keeps you coming back? What keeps the subject still interesting for you?
A few things. The more you know, the more you need to know.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody has a story.
Yeah.
The thing for me is to provide the brave and safe environment for them to share it because when they do share it, first of all, it's good for them.
Mm-hmm.
And second of all, there's one person out there that even if for 20 seconds, 10 seconds, will get encouraged, see some light because of what that person or persons are going through, and also giving a chance for people to share,
Mm-hmm.
right? Providing that brave and safe environment for people to share is such a huge thing these days.
Yeah.
One of my mentors said to me just recently, too many times these days we're going into things with our elbows up.
Mm-hmm.
I want to provide an environment where the elbows are down and you can just, as Madonna said many years ago, express yourself. You know,
Mm-hmm.
that's it. And Paula likes to boogie. By the way, you should have seen her before we went live. Paula was boogieing. She was
Don't tell all my secrets.
no, they didn't see. She was throwing it
But
down,
now you
folks.
told them.
But they can't. They didn't see Paula. Relax.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
You're welcome.
The part of my own journey, to me, conversations mean more than just the transactions. And we're living a world, and right now with COVID, it's become even more obvious. We keep busy, but we lose connection. And the only way to bring back this connection is to build those relationships. And we have to work a little harder at telling our stories, because every single one of us think that it's a boring story. It's just me, nobody else.
We got you. We got you, Paula. We got you.
Yeah, yeah, you got me. So it's like, okay. So this is the portion where when I watch your show, when I've seen some of the people or some of your guests, it's really about letting people know you're not alone. There are other people that are going through something similar or that are considering something. And when I hear you, I might make a different and wiser choice. So it's this part where telling the stories help everyone
Yeah, it's
figure out their path.
and I'll give you a perfect example that happened many years ago, and one of the turning points in my journey online. I was interviewing, was it a book writer, performer? I can't remember. And after she was finished, I followed up with her PR person. And remember, I only had spoken to this PR person maybe 5 minutes. And then after her client finished, just call, how did it go? I said, yeah, it was all right. How do you think it went? She said, it was great. And we had started having a little small talk conversation. I said, hey, you know what? You should come on the Dr. Vibe show. She goes, what am I going to talk about? Now, here's a funny thing. You laugh, but when she came on, she talked about when she was younger being molested by
Mm,
members of her family when she was younger.
yeah.
That was a turn. That sort of told me, you know something? This is at another level now. Because this person was living in California. I had never met them. Had no more
Mhm.
than a 15-minute conversation. And then they came on talking about that. I said, you know what? Um, we have to really go down this road. We have to really,
Mhm.
I said, you know what? There are more stories like that to come. And providing that in brave and safe environment. And I'll never forget that conversation because I had never spoken with anyone before
Mhm.
about that subject, let alone a person who had gone through that, let alone a person I
Mhm.
to this day I've never met.
Mhm.
But I realized that I was part of providing that environment that she was able to share that and
Mhm.
help others who have gone through that or who are going to go through that. That was a game changer. So, and again, traditional media, as they would call it,
Mhm.
you're never going to see those things online, right? You're
No.
going to see like 2 minute snip, etc. Our responsibility, I'm not going to say our role, our responsibility is to allow storytelling from our people to get out. That is part of our heritage,
Mhm.
right? So that's important. And nice. Everything we do online these days, unless the internet goes down for everyone day, it's going to be there with you. So I have 2,000 conversations that are there
Mhm.
that are not going anywhere. And I can say, go. If you don't believe what I'm doing, here's my
Go
link.
stick.
Go.
That's it. The beautiful thing about the internet, though we might not have known when it started, and though there's all kinds of drama that could take place through the internet, is that it brings the real people to the conversation
Well,
rather than
also brings phony people too.
no, it might bring phonies, but it gives. Even I was joking with my kids, all of this, the thing with TikTok and the story that are shared. It's sharing humanity, is sharing what it is like to be who we are,
Yeah.
what we go through, and just human. So that's the part that you might not get from the reality TV that is boosted for all kinds of, how could I say, demands or attention, but it's this part where the average person has a voice where they might not have had. And as I was listening to you, and I was listening to you now, but also looking at some of your previous interviews, the connecting thread for me in all of your conversation is the human piece.
Yeah.
Is about removing the facade and just being you, and that makes a difference. So
Thank,
it's yeah,
thank,
it's
thank
my
you, Paula.
pleasure to
Paula,
be here.
thank you very much. You taught
It's
me well.
oh yeah, of course, because we've been doing this for what, thousands of years. Yeah, even combined, yeah, we could.
So yes, so I'm sorry I don't have my degree from the Paula Alphonse Institute, but I'll make sure that we pull it out for our next conversation. I can show you where she signed my diploma.
Yeah, uh-huh, uh-huh.
Okay.
So I'm gonna continue and I'm gonna ask, after having been in the public eye
Am I?
for over a decade, if those conversations are on the internet and have
I'm
been
public.
floating for
Yeah.
so many years,
Yep.
trust me,
Yeah.
how do you keep things interesting and fresh, both for yourself and for your audience?
Well, that's a very good question. How do I keep for myself? There's always another story out there.
Yeah.
There's
Curiosity.
there's always, and there's many years ago there was an album by was a gentleman named Rod Stewart and was called Every Picture Tells a Story.
Hmm.
So it's a challenge. It's always a challenge. And for me to provide that environment where we can hear that story, because many people I have on for the first time, there's stuff that they've never said before or they've
Hmm.
never shared before. And I always like to have that wow. And I can see it when they're saying it, the wow with them.
Yeah.
And and so many people that Jackie, I've learned so much from Paula. I'm most grateful to have her as my friend. Isn't she wonderful? We should
Thank
rename
you,
this
Jackie.
we should rename this broadcast the Paula Love Club conversation. There we go.
We never would love the club conversation because you can't hear a thing in the conversation.
All
You
right.
dance in the
All
club,
right.
and then we have the conversation after
Yeah.
the club.
It
Anyway,
also, yeah, what also keeps me going, another thing is just seeing how many people now are doing it.
yeah.
Now, the thing is, it's easier to do this more than ever, but it's still a lot. For me, it's passion, but for other people, it's still a lot
Hmm.
of work. When people come to me and say, I want to start this, that podcast, so I say, okay, come back to me after 10,
Hmm.
because that will give enough time to see if the work it takes,
Yeah.
and
Hmm.
Sarah's right, Paula, a fan club for sure. Thank you. That it's still, like, for me, it's not work anymore because I love it. It's a passion
Yeah.
now. Where can I get that next person?
Hmm.
The other day I was very blessed. I was on a broadcast about Black Fathers. It was coming out of the United States. And the gentleman that was hosting it, he had 3 PhD people on the panel.
Hmm.
And he said, "Oh, Dr. Vibes here, you got to get on his show." I didn't ask him, didn't pay him, because so that's 3 more stories,
The
right?
thing I the
So
thing I hear, sorry to interrupt, but the thing
mhm,
I hear is this portion where people are craving to tell their stories,
absolutely.
but you have to have the right soul to be able to receive those gifts because not everyone will be able to share. And I've seen enough of your show to say,
Well, one of the things, and it's not rocket science, and this is what I do when I reach out to people, and I do it usually either via email or via Twitter. Hey, read your article, really like it. I'm Dr. Vibe. This is where my show's at. Would you be interested in coming on the show and talking about it? I don't
mhm,
make it complicated. I do not, because
yeah,
I'm taking out of their time to come on my platform. So I
mhm,
want to make it
mhm,
easy as possible. And when someone comes on the first time, I tell them, hey, uh, I'm here to steer the ship. You're driving the ship.
mhm.
They're here to see you. They're not here to see me. And we are going to do a conversation, not an interview. And you wouldn't believe how many people say, "Oh, I like that so much better." Bam,
Yeah.
bam. And another thing that people may or may not realize, I'm very conversational. I've done 2,000 of these. I've only really prepped for no more than 10% of them,
Yeah.
because the greatest gift that people like Paula, Sarah, and myself have is this: our ears.
Hmm.
When you listen to what someone's saying and you address what they're saying, many times you've won them over because they feel that they're respected, they feel
Yeah.
comfortable, and they just open up. And most of the time, many a time when I have someone come on for the first time, when the
Hmm.
hour's done, they go, what we finished already?
Hmm.
Yeah. And that's the thing too, that my style may be a little bit different. If you watch my conversations, I
Hmm.
don't speak more than 20% of the time. I let them have
Hmm.
space. And when you give them respect, you get better stories, you get better
Yeah.
content because they feel comfortable. It's a better experience. And a lot of times after you finish, They said, well, I wanted to talk about this, this, and this. Okay, no problem. We can have a part two.
I think it's Maya Angelou who said something to the effect, people don't remember what you said, but they remember how you made them feel.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
and,
That's
and
the
that's
thing.
that's the whole thing about listening. It's this part where you allowing them to take center stage and tell their story rather than trying to fit in your agenda, and we don't
No,
do
yeah,
enough of
yeah.
that.
And one other thing I think for this, again, I'm talking about my experience. If you can have a conversation with the person or persons that are coming on beforehand, that's your time to really set up for success.
Yeah.
There's a gentleman I interviewed the other day for another platform, and that's another blessing that I've had. I've hosted conversations for other platforms. And his name is John Eldridge, wrote a book many years ago that was considered like the men's Bible called Wild at Heart. And white gentleman, good guy and all that. We were talking beforehand, and you have to ask. Don't be afraid to ask.
Mhm.
And I was doing this conversation on another platform with him, but before we started, I said, "Hey, John, there's another organization that I do work for or do stuff for. Would you love to come on their platform?" He said, "Sure, no problem." So even before he started doing the conversation, he committed to do. He gave his agreement. I like the word
But
committed. He gave his agreement to have me do something else on another
mhm.
platform. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Make them feel like they're number one.
Yeah.
Okay.
What is the hardest lesson you have had to learn as a Black man and or as an entrepreneur?
Hardest lesson. I would say one of the hardest lessons is that you always have to prove yourself. And this is going to be interesting. We're going to not only do you have to a lot of times prove yourself to people who don't look like you,
Mm-hmm.
but sometimes even harder is you have to prove yourself to people who look
You
like you.
look like you. Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of the best help I've had along my journey were from people who don't even look like me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's disappointing, but you got to keep on going because my intent is to help people that look like us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think that's a very important point I want to put out today is that what is your intent? You could be doing things, this and this, but what is your intent? Why would you want to do something like this? Is it to make money? For me, money funds the mission. It's not the mission.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
My
I love
intent
it.
is to amplify and rise up people that look like us or people who support us who don't look like us.
Mm-hmm.
And for those who don't support us, to show them what we are made of and the great people that we are.
Mm-hmm.
There's a gentleman, one of my biggest fans, based in Colorado and San Diego. He refers to me as like, and this is going back. I didn't know who this gentleman was. I had to look him up. It's a gentleman named David Susskind. Many, many, many years ago, did interviews on PBS. This gentleman who I'm talking about refers me as the David Susskind of North America. He says he does great interviews. It's a white Jewish man I'm talking about who's saying this. Does great interviews. I don't always agree with him, but he is at the top of his game.
Um, it's always a challenge for me, and I'm saying me, but I suspect for a lot of us, the challenge of the expectations you have of yourself, but also the expectations others have of you. And sometimes you have to struggle through both in order to move forward, in order to accomplish your vision. Because you mentioned not being helped by the people you expected to be there for you. It's like you're never king in your own kingdom or your own household, while other people will see the value. Some of the people around you might say, "What's that gimmick you're doing? Why don't you just take a regular job?"
That's
So
okay. Those are the people that keep me going.
that's it. Because in the end, it is about understanding what my purpose is and how do I actualize it.
Yeah, because remember, Paula, they don't build statues for critics.
Why would I want a statue anyway?
Well,
Yeah.
just putting out, and a lot of times your critics, when you've achieved something great, they're the people that said, well, I supported Paula all along the way. So you know what I'm saying, right?
No
So,
comment, no
all right,
comment, no comment. We just
understood.
smile and then I still know who my people are.
All right,
So,
understood. Now, not all of us, but there are some people like that, and I don't mind them. I just there's a word in the English language. Next, I'll leave it at that.
yes, I have a friend who would just use the term sometimey.
Yeah,
So we just let it slide.
yeah.
If you could use 3 words to describe yourself, you know I have to go there.
Should I give you the
What
one I
would
gave you
these be?
yesterday?
You could, but you still have to tell me why.
Okay, so say the question, the 3 words.
3 words that you would use to describe yourself, and why would you pick those 3 words?
Passionate,
Mhm,
caring,
mhm.
loving. You wanted something better, eh?
It's not that I wanted something better. It's like it's hard to say the why for those 3 words, but at the same time, they work with you.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
I
It's not like
I
we've known each other for years, but that's
I
what I've
say
observed.
so. No. Okay. Passion. I'll give you another 3. I'll keep with the passionate, re- relationship based,
Yeah.
and use a term never settle.
I told you there were a reason we get along. Of course. Okay, we're good. We're good. Those are good words, and it's
Thank you.
important for me, uh,
I'm glad
for
you
each
didn't.
of
I'm
us.
glad you didn't pull the plug on me on that. Okay.
No, I'm not. It's not about judgment. It's just about seeing whether you're in alignment with the image you're providing, and as per my assessment, you're in total alignment. Never settle is huge. Keep striving for something better, bigger,
It's not over. It's not over
brighter.
until it's not over until you win.
Yeah, yeah. It's not over, because when it's over, that means there's nothing else to aspire to, which is
There's
no,
yeah.
we just have to keep climbing and find something more exciting.
Well, a perfect example, Paula. This year, I've launched 2 new conversations this year where a lot of people were pushing back and scaling down. I've amplified, and
Yeah,
this year has been my greatest year of online achievement.
yeah, good, good. And I know for you, those achievements are not measured by the rewards or the celebrity, the visibility, or even the money. It's the richness of the conversation that makes it
Well,
worth it.
not only the richness of the conversation, but just providing that avenue where people can share their story and people can grow. When again, I'll use Sarah as an example. It brings me joy when I can be on the same platform as a Sarah. Everyone in the world knew Sarah, and
Mhm.
I was probably the last person to know Sarah. Like people in Toronto, I know Sarah. I didn't know who she was. I feel like I got left out, but nothing just happens. Everything happens in its right time. And now meeting this people like yourself, meeting people like Sarah, just gives me more energy because I say there's other people. We're doing the thing. We're doing the right thing with the right
Yeah.
intent.
Yes.
So that's the thing. And I just work on getting a little bit better each day.
Yeah. For me, there is no progress until you surpass your masters. So that means you're surpassing, but you're not stopping there. You keep going so that other people come along with you and you're stretching everybody else. That's my
Yeah.
perspective. That's
Well, you
my
know what?
vision.
We want to be going arm in arm and cross that finish line together.
Yeah. Yeah. So
So
if you had to leave our audience with one key message, what would that
Oh
be?
boy, there's so many. I would say no, this the to one message. There's so many. Okay, you know what I would say? Give yourself grace.
Hmm, I
Began.
like.
I've been getting. I've been beginning to say that at the end of all my conversations, and even when I'm having conversations with people, even offline. And when I say that, it's like light to them
Hmm.
because we have been living right now, especially this year, a very challenging
Hmm.
time. And when you say to someone, "Give yourself grace,"
Yeah.
it's just like even for that millisecond, some
Hmm.
weight has been taken off their
Yeah.
shoulders.
Yeah.
So I would say right now, give yourself grace. You know, really, really give yourself grace because I'm doing it these days, especially that I'm making sure I get 7, 8 hours of sleep a night.
Hmm.
Just giving myself grace because if I can't be good for myself, I can't be good for the audience. I can't be good for people out there because whether
Hmm.
we like it or not, people like yourself, myself, we're out there. People are looking at us,
Yeah.
right? And we have to make sure we're treating ourselves right so we can be right not only for ourselves but for others.
Yeah. Um, the field that I'm currently operating in is about boundaries
Yes.
and understanding the value of having boundaries for yourself, but also
Yes.
for others.
Yep.
And part of that is really about self care. And as you say, giving giving myself grace, giving myself space, allowing the individual to be true and honest and authentic with himself so that it can actually harness its full potential.
Actually, another thing I will add too, vulnerability is the new currency.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you see, so Sarah, you got your bit of a dance there. Told you, I feel good now. You got a bit of you got into
Yeah,
Sarah
now
groove
we
for a
feel
moment.
good.
Yeah.
Must be the grace. Must be the grace.
Vulnerability is the new currency, and
Yeah.
it's interesting. And I have to say thank you for having me on your platform. This year, I've been interviewed, as you call it, or have been asked to provide conversation a little bit more than others. So I'm very humbled that I can share some of my journeys, some of my evaluate experiences, and some of the evaluate experiences of others that I've been exposed to and continue to be exposed to. I'm very blessed. And also mentorship. You didn't come
Mm.
into the world by yourself, so why are you trying to do it by yourself? And if you're doing something, it has to have an impact bigger than you. If it doesn't have an impact bigger than you, I have to question why you're doing it.
Yeah. So the Prada shoes in themselves are not an objective.
Right? Like I'm
So
like what is it one of
greatness.
my major mentors says, don't let the opportunities define your objectives.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nope, no
Totally
no
agree.
to Sarah, I'm ready. Absolutely. I would love to do
Would
it.
love it.
Love to do it. But yeah,
Yeah.
but that's just
And
there's a lot of
yeah.
things rolling on. Like, and another thing I will say to people who are watching this, you know that you're coming to the hardest part when it's the easiest time to quit.
Oh, I know. Oh, I know. The light is always darker just before daybreak.
You want one more, Sarah, Paula?
Yes.
Okay.
So you're showing me the surprise.
Well, we'll get to that in just a second.
Okay.
Uh, we are living in times that people are going into things with their elbows up.
Uh,
Pardon me.
Survival mode.
We need to put the elbows down.
Mhm. Mhm.
Does that make sense?
To me, it's about picking your battles and being able to see what's behind that other person. Because sometimes we see the elbows before we see the heart. And a lot of people right now are walking wounded. So while you're walking wounded, you usually hurt a lot of people because you're so afraid of them hurting you.
Mhm.
So we each have a role to play in ensuring that I don't come in with my elbows up and then I'm expecting the other person to just whoo, give it
Yeah,
to me. Not gonna
yeah,
happen.
yeah.
So
Elk,
in order to
elk.
receive grace, in order to receive peace,
Yeah,
you have to first show grace and peace. Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. So I'm going to ask you a quick question.
Go
Give me
ahead.
one event from 2020 that you will not forget, since we're coming to the end of the year.
It has to be a public event.
Whatever, it's open. You're on the Dr. Vibe show now. And I'll give you one of mine.
Okay. For me, and we're gonna try and keep it nice. It was the death of my parents and being in the hospital wearing that the protective gear
Yep. Yep.
and feeling so disconnected from those people you love the most.
I appreciate you sharing that. So I'm going to give you an uplifting story. One of them.
Go ahead.
As I mentioned earlier on, my dad's still alive, and I had the opportunity to take him to his best friend's 85th birthday celebration.
Ah, yes.
Wonderful event. It was held at his daughter's place. Food, nice time, etc. So at the end of the evening, people were asked if they had any speeches. So my father, being Jamaican man, 38 years school teacher in the same public school, gets up and he said two things that rocked me to this day. He said, first of all, I've known this man longer than anybody here, even his wife who has passed away. I've known him longer than anybody. And then the second thing he said is, this man has been my best friend for 70 years.
Mm. Friendship, relationships.
So I'm saying that to our people. If we're going to get ahead, we got to get ahead with each other. First
Mhm,
of all, we got to get
mhm,
ahead with ourselves, but we have to get each other with each other.
mm.
When I
Yeah.
heard that, I said, I don't even know if I'm going to live 70 years, right?
Mm.
I don't know. But
Mhm.
these two men have been like this for 70
70
years.
years.
They don't go more than 2 days without communicating with each other. I know that because I grew up with that.
Mhm.
70 years. So,
That's huge.
so if there's anything I want to let people simmer in their head, think about that. And if there's someone that you need to reach out to, especially if it's someone
Mm.
you haven't reached out to for a long time, please do it, because you don't want to have, you don't, I'm going to say it this way, give people that are close in your life a living eulogy.
Yeah.
What I mean by that is, and this
Mm.
was taught to me by one of my mentors, a 71-year-old Asian black man. He told me, Dr. Vibe, people that are close in your life, give them a living eulogy. And I went, Robert, what do you mean
Mhm.
by that? He says, too many times we save the
Mhm.
special things that we want to say to people when they're gone.
Wasted.
Say it to them while they're alive, because you never
Yeah.
know. Just make them live the energy for another day. I'm done.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're always surprised. At least I know every now and then people tell me things about me, and I'm really? I didn't even notice. And there are things we take for granted that they're always going to be there. And also, then when they disappear, you realize so many lost conversations. So, if we have to be, at least if there was a wish for me in 2021, let's have more truthful conversation. And don't wait till 2021. Start now.
Yeah.
Tomorrow's not promised. We know
Thank you.
that.
Thank you for allowing me to be on your show, Paula.
Yes, I'm still waiting for my surprise.
Okay.
For
So
that surprise,
is
whatever it is.
This is a real good surprise. So right now we are speaking live on sharing, because I don't speak with people. I share. That's the way I am. It's like 7:55, 7:56, November 18th, 2020. Well, starting in a little under 5 minutes, there's going to be a broadcast hosted by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association.
Mhm.
You saw the award I put up earlier, did you not? Or should I show it to you again?
Are we getting another one?
So this was 2018. This is 2020.
Yes! Congratulations.
So I'm now a two-time award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. The 2018 award was given out for innovation. And that's the second highest award you can achieve. And that is the only thing higher than that is the lifetime achievement. And actually during that ceremony, back then things were face-to-face, I was the last recipient of the night award. The person who got the lifetime achievement was a gentleman named John Honderich, who was one of the longtime people at the Toronto Star.
Okay.
He was an editor there for years, there for years. And I'm receiving my second award. They're doing a broadcast tonight, November 18th, starting at 8 p.m. And I'm going to be one of the award recipients. I also have to give a big shout out to a lady that Sarah knows, Camille Dundas, Camille and Roger Dundas from Buy Blocks. They're going to be getting an award, and it's going to be their second award also. So that's what I wanted to share as a surprise. So we just keep on.
Clap for the good work you're doing.
Can you say good passion?
A good passion.
Thank you.
For the love you're giving back.
Yeah.
Yes.
So thank you, Sarah. Thank you so much. Yeah. Well, you know what? I'm humbled by that comment. A lifeline during the pandemic. Wow. That I'm very humbled to hear that. That is, yes. And yes, Camille's, I think, and Camille. So all the recipients were asked to do a pre-recorded acceptance speech. So you'll see the one I gave, and I'll tell people ahead of time. I gave a shout out to the Dundas family, Roger, Camille, Marley, and Chase. And then I gave a shout out to my major mentor, a gentleman named Mario Armstrong in the United States. Could only make it a minute, so I really couldn't get anyone else in. So it was very short. But so that was a surprise I had for you. I didn't even have a chance to broadcast it on after I finish, I'm going to go on Facebook Live, say, hey, watch right now, da-da-da. So, but,
and it is 7:58. So if you want to go do that.
No, it's all right. Then we got some more stuff happening tomorrow. I'm hosting a panel discussion about gender and spirituality. Tomorrow is actually November 19th, International Men's Day. So I've been asked to host a panel discussion 11 a.m. tomorrow morning about gender relations and spirituality for International Men's Day. Good. And other things coming up, of course, on Sundays. Sundays, you can check me out with the help of BIA Media, Black. Actually, there's another change that happened today. You'll get another announcement. On Sundays, it used to be called, starting at the end of August, started Sunday conversations called Black Canada Talking. Well, we're probably going to be changing the name called Black Canada Talking Spotlight Sundays. So we're
a lot of news, a lot of involvement, a lot of changes that you're creating.
Well, positive changes and the mentorship. Again, I take direction from people who have been ahead of me, who have proven success, and they have the right intent. Again, I
Mhm.
get back to the word right intent. Very
Yes.
important.
Thank you. Thank you
What?
for this conversation.
Well, thank you for allowing me. I hope I paid you enough to get me on here.
Money is just details. Don't worry about that.
Well,
It's
look.
all about the conversation.
So you know what this means. You're gonna have to come on the Dr. Vibe show.
We can talk about it because
I'm
we'll
not.
talk
Hey, you know what?
smattering.
I'm not forcing. I'd love you to come on when you're
My
ready.
pleasure. My pleasure. Okay.
So I'm just going to say to everyone again, remember to give yourself grace. Anything else, go to my
Mhm.
website, the DRVIBESHOW, everything Dr. Vibe there, replays of my epic conversations, other posts. You can reach out to me there. And if you want to email me, dr.vibe at the
Yeah.
drvibeshow.com. There it is on the screen. Get Paula
Yes.
back on the screen because she's the star. I'm just the appetizer. She's the main course. Thank you, Paula, and keep on laughing. And don't worry, Sarah, we'll get her to dance for you.
Yeah. We'll figure it out. Thank you again.
My
And
pleasure.
have a blessed evening.